mama, daddy, whoever decide to plan it for you. Now you trying to play the role like, oh no, you guys don't have to. Oh no, and then you're in group message telling, hey everybody, we have my birthday party. Da, da, da. So now after you did all that, I ain't celebrate. Now you celebrate. So that's who I'm talking to. It's some people who legit don't celebrate their birthday, but I'm also talking to the people who act like they ain't celebrating it this year, just to end up doing it anyway. You're full of it. If you do that, if you decide that you want to do that to, I guess, get a rise out of people, or to just play this role that you just unbothered, no, I can just try to play the cool cat, smooth criminal, that message is for you. And that's what grind my gears, because him celebrate, because it's him gonna celebrate his birthday every time. Every time. What's up, y'all? So, look, let me just go ahead and keep it short with you. Did you know that as of 2024, the United States has a literacy problem? 21% of adults cannot read, and 54% of them have been recorded, and it has been documented, read below a 6th grade level. That is a catastrophe. But that's where I step in. Now, I'm not going to teach the grown folks how to read and write. However, PSA, the Ghostwriting Solution, has now a new package. It's called the Literacy Liftoff, and it caters to 9th through 12th graders who struggle with reading, writing, and comprehension. This new tutoring service will offer vocabulary skills, teaching students how to literally write from the bottom, literally teaching them how to do an introduction paragraph, how to do a hook, how to do a conclusion, how to add a little razzle dazzle, and how to add their own personal touch to it. Okay. Now, you know what you're saying. Well, Izzy, that's what they go to school for. Absolutely. But as an ex-teacher, the teachers just don't have time. So this program has 3 different packages from 3 different sets of hours that you can take. So if you're an AP, a principal, the student who needs help, the parent of the student, or you just know somebody who needs the help. If you're in the Houston area, you can get in-person tutorials. But if you are not in Houston, there are also virtual options offered as well. So hit me up at my email, theprodigyperspective@gmail.com, and or psathepodcast.com, and we will hook you up. What's going on? Track 1. First of all, I'm back right now. If you've been keeping up with the live streams, I'm not really necessarily back because you've been seeing me, but just not in the capacity of the podcast like normal. So, yeah, can you believe that we are here for season 9? This is the season 9 premiere. Like, just think about that. Season 9 seasons of something. You know what I mean? And almost 300 episodes. It's crazy work. There's many podcasts that got many more than me, but because I take the months off, it always kind of levels out. And then I can't quit, although it's like 297, 298, something like that. I can't say 300 because a lot of those are the live streams too. Although the live streams are listed as bonus, but you get what I mean. So still, but just organically, still over 200, probably more, not probably, but over 250. Crazy work in a good way, though, right? In a good way. So let's get into today's topic. And I'm gonna kind of touch back on some things when we get there. But today's topic is going over a phrase. Now, when I'm recording this, I'm literally recording this the day before it's due. So usually the most of these episodes you see, they kind of like, a week in advance, 3 months in advance, 4 months in advance, 2 weeks in advance. This one is the day before, like old school, like I used to do back in the day. So if you've been keeping up with me on Instagram, you've seen me on my, what's it called? Notes on Instagram. And I've been like Himothy him Duncan, him John, Himmy John, him Johns. So trying to say like Jimmy Johns, and I'm like him Tebow, because today we're talking about this. So let's get into the meme. Being him and being Himmy Turner are not the same. One leads, the other still wishes for change. Inspirations for this video and for this podcast come from a few different areas. So the first one is Deuteronomy 2 and 3, which we use in the carousel, which says that you have circled this mountain long enough. It's time to turn northward. And then a quote, which also was in the carousel by Kendrick Lamar, it says that I always thought it was me against the world. Then one day I realized it's just me against me. And finally, LeBron James, which he said in the video, it says, I don't give a F what nobody think about me. I am him. All right, sounding good. Sounding good. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the first time of the season, happy hour. All right. Now, the first thing I want to discuss is where have I been? So obviously been doing the same stuff. I've been doing podcasting. Well, live streaming. I technically have been podcasting because, like I said, we got a bunch of episodes recorded, and I can't wait for you all to see them all. Some people you've seen, the trailer was good. Everyone loved the trailer. If you haven't looked at the trailer, it's on YouTube. It's been on Instagram. Didn't put it on TikTok. May put it on TikTok, but it was on Instagram and YouTube, and they loved it. Everybody loved it. Everybody thought it was good. I thought it was good. I went against the grain when I was told, like, oh, it's too long. You need to cut this to like 30 seconds to a minute. But see, I don't agree because my stuff is based off of what people on TV do. Inspirations come from television. So most television trailers are 2 minutes or so, and mine was 2 minutes. Now, if I ever do another one, it might only be a minute and 30 seconds, but still, like I like the whole, is inspired off TV. So I'm keeping it that way, and that's just what it is. And I'm setting trends because I saw other podcast trailers, and honestly, I was not impressed. And I'm not even no super critical person. I was like, that's it. Like, I didn't feel moved. I didn't feel excited. I didn't feel like I want to watch this. Oh, I forgot to show y'all my shirt. So you really can't see it, but it's from Boohoo. I feel like it's like a fake polo, like polo Ralph Lauren fake polo, not like polo. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so I just am thankful that I didn't get caught up in what everyone told me to do. I'm thankful that I did what I wanted to do per usual, and it worked. Like I said, y'all, we have so many wonderful episodes that's going to be happening, and a lot of great conversations, and to be starting off a podcast season with a series. Never been done. And we back with the As a Man series, which, like, if but we were supposed to actually end the season with the volume 2, but I just couldn't get around to it, and I didn't want it to be rushed. But I like the way we're going about it with this. And so, yeah. Now, let me get into another let's go other things in order I need to go over. Oh, accolades. So I've been mentioned, and they've been asking me to talk about it. So FeedSpot has recently shouted me out. Now, I never share my screen this early, but I'm going to share my screen today because I want to show you what they got or what happened with PSA. And they wanted me to share this, so I'm going to share it because I'm actually in 3 categories. So I'm going to share this with you all, and I'm actually excited about it. Okay. And shout out to FeedSpot. Shout out to them. They'll be linked in the bio for this episode. Okay. Let's do it. So PSA, and like I said, they're a smaller, they're a smaller website and things, but that's okay because small victories are still a thing. So I'm listed in the 50 best Black mental health podcasts. Okay. I'm listed at number 2 on this list, which, I'm thankful for because the list I kind of skimmed through and looked through, it was some good listings on there. Now, that's that one. Now, let's go to the next one because I'm in another one. So I'm in 3 of their categories. And then I'm going to give my take on that. The next one is 20 best educational comedy podcasts. And I'm number 1. Okay. We love to see it. and they have a few other ones as well. Good stuff. And finally, I'm in another one of their mentions. Let's do it. 5 best millennial mental health podcasts, and I'm number 1 here. So shout out to FeedSpot for mentioning me, and I didn't have to pay for that either. So don't think like, oh, he paid. I ain't pay for that. I ain't pay for that. If I'm gonna pay for it, I'm gonna get me a Grammy. And like I said, no shade to FeedSpot. I'm just saying they upcoming. If I'm gonna spend my money on something, I'm gonna get the highest thing possible. So shout out to FeedSpot for recognizing me. And no, we're not sponsored by them, but I am going to shout them out because yeah. Now let's get into some topics. Another thing I want to talk about with happy hour, and it's talking about being him. So as him, or I still don't really like that phrase. I'm trying to take on the persona for the episode, but I really don't really like that phrase. But as him, or as that guy, or that man, or the one, however you want to refer to yourself, these type of men celebrate their birthdays. Now there is a stigma and a stereotype that men don't celebrate their birthday. As a man, why are you celebrating your birthday? That's sassy, as a man series, right? And it's something that I want to speak on because it's something that really grinds my gears. So I want to speak on people my age, young millennial men, really young millennials in general, and probably older Gen Z, but just for the conversation, people who think they are so grown because they don't celebrate their birthday. A thread. Now, of oral thread, right? So this is my thing. I've heard so many people out the years, they'll be say stuff like, I celebrated my birthday this year. No, not this year. I'm going to save it for next year. You could die tomorrow. And that's morbid, I know. But I just feel like too many people are dying left and right. And you over here, it's like, I'm going to celebrate my birthday next year. And I ain't wishing death on nobody, I promise. But what I'm saying is, you should be excited to celebrate the fact that you're here again. Like some people, and I got a point because I know you're what y'all gonna try to say, but it's just like you could do a dinner, you could do something. You ain't even gotta do no big old extravaganza soiree. You could just do like a little thing at the house, or you could just do something you and your wife, or you and your kid, whatever. Your friends, whatever, right? So you're gonna say, well, everybody don't celebrate their birthday. I'm making a point because this is to the people who say every year, I'm not celebrating my birthday. We not gonna have time to celebrate my birthday. I'm not gonna plan it. Then last minute want to plan something. You should have just did that in the first place. You wanted to do something. You lied to yourself, because now I'm gonna call you out. You're a liar. You lied to yourself and and tried to act like you didn't want to do nothing for your birthday. Whole time you did. You just either didn't have the money that wasn't right at the time, either you didn't feel like planning it, or whatever. And then you act like you want somebody to do it for you. So that's your way of being like, I ain't gonna do nothing. So then your friends, because you got good friends or a good spouse or whoever, decide, oh, mama, daddy, whoever, decide to plan it for you. Now you trying to play the role like, oh no, you guys don't have to. Oh no. And then now you're in group message telling, hey, everybody, we have my birthday party. Da, da, da. So now after you did all that, I ain't celebrate. Now you celebrate. So that's who I'm talking to. It's some people who legit don't celebrate their birthday, but I'm also talking to the people who act like they ain't celebrating it this year just to end up doing it anyway. You're full of it. If you do that, if you decide that you want to do that to, I guess, get a rise out of people, or to just play this role that you just unbothered, no, I can just try to play the cool cat, smooth criminal, that message is for you. And that's what grind my gears, because him celebrate, because it's him gonna celebrate his birthday every time. Every time. All right, y'all. Now, good stuff. Now, that was a great transition, a great segue, because now we're moving into the next segment, which is the case study. Now, as we know with the case study, we're going to investigate and analyze a few different things. So I have three videos today, and we're going to analyze them, and I'm going to stop periodically to give my take on them. And it's just kind of, there are several points made. And again, we're not going to watch all of the videos. One of them is like an Instagram video, but the other ones are kind of long, so we're not going to watch them all. Now, as I was doing research for this topic, I think I was on the right track. Let me tell you why. Whenever you're doing something that's right and the Lord's work, and you see, and you get a demonic attack, you know you're on the right track. As I was getting my information for this episode, I saw a video pop up talking about some tarot cards, and I rebuked that in Jesus' name. I don't play with no tarot cards. They was tarot cards, and the lady was flipping them like she was playing blackjack. I said, nah, you gotta go. You gotta go. I don't play with tarot cards. And it just popped up out of nowhere, and it was like, and the lady was just playing with him. I said, you witch, get away from me. She lucky I couldn't reach through the screen. But once again, that showed me I was doing the Lord's work. All right, y'all. So let's get into the first video for today. This one is a well, no, I'm gonna get into this one. It talks about no. I'm gonna get into the first one, like I said, and it's some steps on how to be him. And this is a no BS guide. And remember, y'all, don't get caught up in the phrase him, because technically I still hate it too, but it's more so just how to be that guy. All right, let's watch.
Change your identity. I want you to close your eyes right now and visualize yourself as being him. The way you dress, the way you walk with great posture, clear, glowing skin, being present and so confident, smiling to people to the point that you become magnetic to people, especially girls. Now take a deep breath and open your eyes. Did you feel the difference? At this exact moment, you just experienced the feeling of being that guy. You need to see it in your mind first, and then your mind will find ways to become that person. Trust me, this is the last video you're going to watch on this topic. This video is not like the BS that you watched before, so keep watching it till the end, and your life will change forever. Step 1, physical attractiveness. You're tired of hearing this advice, I know, bro. Here's a no BS, step-by-step guide on how to be more attractive. The first one is having an aesthetic body. Having an aesthetic body is not normal bodybuilding. It's focusing on the muscle groups that will make you look good and have the V-shaped look. Here's how my body looks now. I still have so much work to do, but I made some good progress that I'm grateful for. So you need to train your back, shoulders, upper chest, forearms, traps, and neck. That's why I've created a free workout program for you that targets these muscle groups. The disease, I don't have a gym next to me, and my mother won't let me go, and I'm broke and I'm homeless. I've included a home sugar processed food, eat inflammatory single ingredient foods, don't drink, don't do drugs, avoid basic heavy cheap dopamine like video games, social media. This is all you need to succeed in life. If you do this.
Now, I'm going to stop it there because I do want to say something real quick. So I agree with the food. Video games, here's the thing. I actually have a PS5 and a Switch, right? I haven't played my games in so long, and it's not even on purpose. I actually want to. It gives me inspiration, especially creativity-wise, but I just haven't had a chance to play them. I would say limited. I do struggle with social media. I'm going to put myself on blast with that one.
For 2 weeks, you'll be shocked how your personality, drive, and energy shift if you just do those basics. Most people poison themselves every single day. It makes it virtually impossible for your brain to be motivated and work at its best. If you avoid stupid shit and then show up every day, you're probably just going to crush life by default. Most posture. Practicing a good posture is bringing your shoulders back and then looking up. Don't look at the ground when walking. It's going to be weird at first, but then you'll get used to it. The best way to have a good posture is to hit the gym, to strengthen the muscles that will lead to a great posture. The best exercise to improve posture is face pulls. Do that, you'll have great posture naturally. Have a strong eye contact. When practicing good posture, try to make eye contact with everyone on the street and smile at them. Trust me, they will.
I don't have good eye contact at all. I don't have good eye contact at all.
4, having a purpose. To be him, you need to discover your purpose that will make you feel a sense of direction in your life. And if you watch till this point, that means that you're special. Most people clicked off, but you're here. I'm very proud of you, bro. To discover your purpose, you need to ask yourself, what is the thing that my mind does not stop thinking about every day? Maybe it's making progress in the gym, improving your appearance, making money so you can retire your family. The fastest way to discover your purpose is just sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and just think. Ask yourself hard questions and you'll discover it. My name is Aziz.
I say pray first. I agree with that, but I definitely say pray first. Okay, so I like that video. Like I said, a no BS guide. And again, you can study and go more in depth by watching the whole thing. I just wanted those few parts. Now, let me go to this other video. This is from Instagram, and it's from a guy I just started following. And I actually saw his page as a suggestion, or he was in my homeboy's story. So now let's watch his page and watch this video, and then we're going to unpack that.
If I was up in it, girl, you wouldn't have to worry about a damn thing. If I was up in it, shit, I better pound that I put it down. Make you forget that you was ever with him. And I hate talking about my stroke pain, but girl, I'm giving you the whole thing. I could put like 25 on your finger, 5.
I'm going to mute it because I don't want to get copyright. Okay. So you saw that video real quick, just kind of giving you should follow him on Instagram and just how to rebrand yourself. Like I said, we are coming back. You know, in this season, you're going to see a lot of kind of rebranding. We have some additions. We have some, not really too many subtractions, but we are going back to the roots of things and going back to like the foundation foundation of why PSA even started, to help out with some, some things of that nature. Now, here's another thing. Now, we're talking about being that guy, being that person, being him Duncan, being him Tebow, him be Hemi Hendrix, be him Hemi Neutron, be Hemi Turner. Well, Hemi Turner wish for change. We don't wish for change. We don't wish and hope. We make it happen. But if you're wishing typically and not at doing on your part, this might be the sign that you are a man child. So we'll be talking about that in today's episode. And actually, guess what? I got a video for that too. So let me share my screen for the last time today. And let's talk about a man child. Again, we're going to be watching the whole video, but we're going to be watching it.
I know this one's going to be tough as hell for some of y'all. Excuse my French. But I got to keep this 100% real, bro. If it's one thing I do, I got to keep this 100% real. The first sign that you are a man child is that you still blame people for the fact that you're not where you want to be in life. And not just in life. Let me correct that. The first sign that you are a man child is the fact that you still point fingers and complain at other people because you're not where you need to be in your life. It's not just in life, it's your life. And I think that's what men forget sometimes, is that your life is your responsibility. Your life, you have to be accountable for that. 100%, man. Can't nobody do that work for you. Y'all know. Can't nobody do it for you. Can't. You got to love yourself enough. You got to respect yourself enough. Another reason why you could be a man child, bro, is that you are not working on having your own in life. Oh, Malik, I'm 18. I still live with my parents. Is that okay? Of course that's okay. Of course that's okay. As long as you're working towards getting out of there. We have to work towards having our own. Here's why. It's important to be self-sufficient. I just want you guys to be self-sufficient. I want you guys to be able to be independent as a man. Because when top, man, off the, you know what I'm saying? So, I love y'all. I hope that y'all can take something from this. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.
Now, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did zoom into the end because although we didn't watch all of it, there was some parts where he was, as we saw, a little, not necessarily harsh, but he was definitely on you about it. And the end up with saying, I love y'all, I love us for real. So I want to end it around then just to prove that point, just to say, like, this is all from a place of love. This is not a place to condemn you, but it is more so from an area like, hey, step it up. Okay? Step it up. Step it up. All right, y'all. Now let's move to my other, and I think this is my real favorite segment, QTNA, which is questions that need addressing. All right, so now let's get into the first question for the day. First question asks, why does every man refer to themselves as him? Now, we see it all the time. LeBron said it. A lot of people say, you'll be at a spot, people will say, I'm him. That's their captions. Instagram, that's the favorite thing to go with. I'm him. I'm the one. It's just a new way of saying I'm that guy. I just think it's a little, a little sassy, a little bit. I ain't gonna hold you, and that's just me being honest. Like, obviously, I'm jumping into character for this video, but I do think it's a little sassy. Like, yeah, I'm him. I'm him. Like when girls be like, I'm her. I'm her. That makes sense. But like, like I'm him. And Megan Thee Stallion had the song "Her," right? Who do you think would make? And they might already did it. I have to do it. Look it up. But who would be the male version, not of her, but the male to make the male version of that song? So she got I'm her, and he'd be like, this song called Him. I don't think it will follow the same cadence or the same beat, because that beat is kind of like a Vogue kind of song. So I don't think a dude would do that. But what would who do you think would do that? That's a good conversation starter. But it's just something to say. People are like, yeah, I'm him, and then I love that for y'all, I guess. But I'm more so do it as satire, because personally, when I see a dude refer to himself as him, I almost instantly think of him from the Powerpuff Girls. That's who I think about. I do. And you know what? If you don't remember who him is, You might want to look it up. Okay. Let's move to the next question. What does it mean to go around the same mountain? Now, this is something I touched on at the beginning, and then the man-child video touched on, especially when he opened up. So, first of all, in the Bible, you know, the people went around the same mountain, which was supposed to take 11 days, and they did it for what, umpteen years. It wasn't supposed to be that long. They kept going around the same mountain. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves with people is, you know, even with myself, like I had to realize last year, like right now on the scale, I'm around like 228, right? Last year around this time, I was around 240, and I was at 240 like for months. But it didn't finally click. Like you going around the same mountain, and something you're not doing right. And for me, it was something simple as you needed to do rest, incorporate rest days. I stopped taking rest, you know, and even if it's just one day. Now, I think to see to see the best results, I really need to do two. But for sure, I'm gonna have one. But yeah, I was not getting no rest days. I was just doing this, and then body wasn't changing, body plateaued, diet wasn't the best. It was decent, it was cool, but it wasn't, you know. And I started to plateau. I started to see it, but going around the same mile just simply means you're doing the same thing over and over again and seeing the same results, which is actually definition of insanity. Trying to do something different or doing the same thing expecting a different outcome. That's insanity. You're insane. You know what I mean? So that's something we got to keep in mind. And even when he talks to me in a man child, I'm blaming other people. You the problem. You need to be blaming yourself while you going around that same mountain 6 months, a year, and you doing the same thing. It's not working. That's not working. But hold on, I'm gonna come back to that. The third question, and then you know, before I get to the third question, next thing is, you know, I just accept that you can't save everybody. I don't even say nothing no more. And my goal is not to say nothing else. If you like that, cool. Because okay, my only response is I'll be waiting to see the results. That's it. Because you can have all these think pieces that sound good all you want to. I don't get caught up in status. I don't believe just because you daddy, you right. I don't believe just because you grandma, you right. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I go off results. If I'm always listening to you, it's because you'd have been right. If I'm always like hesitant to listen to you, it's because you be wrong a lot of the times. But you know, that's just me. And not saying that a wrong person can't be right sometimes, because even a broken clock is right twice a day. But I'm gonna be hesitant because of history. Is what it is. When was that moment you knew that you was him? These questions. So one of the times I knew was when I planned my first trip my first group trip. And now I've been known for planning group trips. What inspired me to plan this group trip was I went on a trip right before the pandemic, and it wasn't good. It was very mid. It was annoying. It was a lot of underlying tension. It was a lot of unnecessary arguments. It was a lot of moments where I felt uncomfortable. And from my understanding, all five of us felt the same way. It was, if you had to, you would hate to like click it up, but if it was like these two and it was like us three. And ever since then, as the whole, we've never all traveled again. But it's funny though about that trip is I get the most flack for it. And I made comments for sure, but it was one person that made way more comments than me and went in way harder than me. And they don't catch hell, but I do. I think people need to realize when I say people don't be liking me, I be for real. And that's another time I knew when I was that guy. When people hated me, I ain't even did nothing. Now don't get into it. There's some things I deserve to be hated for. I ain't gonna lie. But some days I literally ain't even did anything. I would just come in the room and sit there, or I just come in the room and just be there, and mugs just start saying little stuff. Well, a lot of times people do be jealous, and sometimes they're not jealous, especially where I'm from and how I grew up. Like a lot of people around me was jealous because they wasn't doing nothing with their life and still not. And they used to be mad at me because I was, you know, people would try to make jokes and say, or not jokes, but kind of throw digs like, oh, your parents do this for you. That's what they supposed to do. And they position me to still do better than the majority. So you tried to use that as a dig whole time. It was work. They did what they wanted. I'm not super dependent on my parents. I'm very independent. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little too independent. Just saying. Also, I knew I was him when I just create stuff out of nowhere. Like my creativity is truly a blessing, and I'm thankful for it. And I'm excited to see where it's gonna go next because I know it's just gonna continue to just go up. And I just have to do my part and stay consistent and trust in the real creator, the creator of all creators, because God creates, right? So just staying consistent with that. And I'm interested to see what's gonna happen next. Question 4. They messy. Izzy, we thought you hated the phrase him. Again, I do, and I'm using that phrase just for content purposes only. I'll never say that in real life unless I'm joking. But I'm all for being confident in who you are. I'm all for being that guy. I'm all for being that ninja. And for me, even though I might not necessarily like the phrase because it reminds me of him off the Powerpuff Girls, I can say that the message I approve. We approve this message, just maybe not the phrase. And then my final question, which we actually alluded to in a few questions back, was my favorite question to ask the people is that working? Now, it can be a little shady at times, and especially when asked, because it's like, I'm asking you in all seriousness, is that working? I know it's not, but I want you to say, no, it's not. That's how I'm trying to get you. I had an old boss years ago when she wanted to see, and she ate with that one. I ain't gonna lie. And she was like, she said, she asked me, was I doing something? And she said, I know that you're not. I want you to verbally say it. And I'm like, and I was mad. But I'm like, she ate with that one. I'll be using that one. So that's how I'd be like, I know it ain't working, but I want you to say it's not working. But you don't want to lose the argument. And a lot of times, especially with me, is that I don't want him to be right. So it's like, nah, see, know what? I don't want him to be right. I want him to be right. But then, unfortunately, if the person right, it's like, I don't know. But you know what? I say this, and remember, we talk about with love. My boy ended off purpose driven on YouTube. Said, I love y'all, right? And I always end up saying, I love y'all for real. I love us for real. Same thing. I realized, me personally and others, a lot of people are scared of their potential. That's really what it is. People are scared of things drastically changing. Calling myself out. You scared to post that one clip of the podcast because you know it'll go viral and you know to get attention. And you scared of that attention. Not so much now, but there was a time, recent time actually. You scared to truly invest all the way because you have a strong feeling you know it's going to work, and you scared of all of what's going to come with it, and you're okay with being cool. You're okay with being complacent. You okay with being on. You deserve to be on Stars. You should be on Stars. You should be in getting an Oscar, getting a movie. Yet you over here auditioning to be on Zeus Network. And that's no shade to the network because they making billions of dollars at this point. Zeus, however, if your potential is to be winning an Oscar, why are you auditioning? You should be auditioning for a movie of that caliber versus auditioning for a TV show on the Zeus Network. And I don't want to hear the whole, oh, well, you got to start somewhere. Yeah, but you can't start everywhere. That's a good one. You can start, you got to start somewhere, but you can't start everywhere. I like that. That wasn't even playing. We're going to end it on that. All right, now let's get into some definitions. Okay, so I went ahead and got a few definitions for him. These all come from Urban Dictionary. It says nickname for that guy everyone secretly loves, aka, not my words, God, the mother effer with the biggest set of nuts in town that is freaking cracked at everything he does. This individual also gets an absurd amount of female dogs. And then man child, I defined that, got that from internet dictionary.com. This is an adult man who exhibits childlike qualities or immaturity, often characterized by an inability to engage in adult behavior. Don't worry, I know a few people came to mind with that one. All right, let's transition. Let's go into everyone's favorite. What does this have to do with mental health? Great question. All right, now let's get into some points. So the first one says the mask you live in. And this comes from the Representation Project. The documentary and campaign highlight how boys today in culture are taught to wear emotional masks, to be tough, silent, and stoic. Your episode, we talk about these masks by calling men out of performative masculinity into authenticity, which is a core mental issue for millennial men today. So now when I think of that, the first thing that came to my mind is that mask. And I think about that mask where the man, his face is regular, but he crying. That's what I think about. I think about that. And I think about that because that's what a lot of men do. Now, again, I'm not necessarily, we've already talked about the difference between highly sensitive and hypersensitive all the way back in season 2. We may need to revamp that episode and bring it up to today. But hypersensitivity is also walking in a fence. And you easily offended. But like a lot of these men today, they play that hard body, hard gangster role because they're actually very sensitive. So they allow everything, their anger or their frustration to come out in anger, which is fighting, brawling, punching, kicking, things of that nature, screaming, easily irritable, that kind of thing. And I agree with being stoic to an extent, but if you're bothered by something, but then the same, it's really a slippery slope because if you bother by something, you should address it. But in the same breath, you can't be bothered by everything. But some things I do believe, and people don't want to hear this, but you really have to, when it happens, great example. And I brought this up actually last season, I believe, but you have to take things to God first. So I remember somebody said something to me, a good friend of mine, and I was actually offended by it. And it was this prayer that I have from Tiffany Montgomery's The Year of the Bride book. And it talked about a prayer of like forgiveness, right? And like you insert their name in it. So the prayer is already fleshed out. You just insert their name. And I remember I prayed that prayer daily over that person because I was really offended by something they did. And at this point, I don't even care no more. Like I think about it and don't feel no way about the comment. But you have to address things quickly. Sometimes it will require you to speak or talk to that person. But in some cases, you just might need to just take it to prayer. The person they've never even knew I was offended by that phrase. I might even bring it up to them later at one point. They wouldn't even know. The second one is understanding the stigmas of men's mental health. It says National Institutes of Health outlines how societal expectations force men to suppress emotions, leading to isolation and depression by naming passivity, false identity, and stagnation. We're right now, it directly chips away at that stigma and invites men to address what's been buried underneath the performance. And I think we get caught up in performance and being him, there's a dark version of being him and there's the good side. So I know most hymns think, oh, I can get every girl in the room, I'm gonna smash all these women tonight, I'm gonna get, spend an absurd amount of money, I'm going to, not have no discipline in nothing I'm doing, but had a mindset, spend a check, get it right back. And that's a song, and that's one of those phrases overlooked because them people probably have financial advisors as well. Now, not all of them, because I do know, especially them rappers and entertainers that you talk about, you hear them stories about them going broke too. But a lot of them be having financial advisors. And if you don't have one, looking to get in one, or, look, it's reading some books on some things. Now, I will say, we will be talking about that later in this series. So be prepared for that. Now, the third one is what is identity distress? It says, according to psychology today, identity confusion and lack of purpose are major contributors to anxiety and depressive symptoms in men, especially in their late 20s to mid 30s. So we're pushing back that confusion. And I'm asking you to stop imitating. Stop imitating who you think you are and who you actually want to become. Now, again, I believe purpose comes from God, but in that video, it puts you on the right track to where to go to find your purpose. You need to sit down and say, what is it I can't stop thinking about? So a lot of times y'all overlook stuff. I ask you all the time, you tell them about this idea. That idea is great. It's cool. It ain't even great. It's all right. It's cool. Okay. Do you love doing that? Where make a lot of money? Where I'm interested. Y'all not answering the question. Y'all dancing around, you ballet turning around the question. What is something you can't stop thinking about, no matter how? But see, a lot of people get caught up in, well, that sounds extreme or that sounds so out of reach. Do it anyway. I'm not an advocate for doing it afraid. And I say that only because doing it afraid means that you engage with being fearful. And I'm not for being fearful. You shouldn't even be fearful at all. However, I'd rather you do it afraid than not do it at all. We got all the quotes, y'all. We got all the quotes. Put me in a book. I already am, but you know what I mean. All right. Also, you're not lying if you gotta lie. You're not lying if you gotta lie. Put that one in the book too. No, but for real, you're not your real self if you gotta lie. If you have to tell people, you know, you lying about your money, anything you live in, and that's you're not 100. I will say, even with that, like people, we're in the phase of life where people like authenticity. People like to hear, you know, one of my homeboys from high school, I saw him, he made a post about his gym one time, and he talks about, you know, there are months that I was late on rent for my gym. There were months that, you know, I was like, I'm gonna just have to keep the, you know, we ain't gonna be open this day. Like people like hearing that, especially with entrepreneurial journeys. So you have a story, we all have a story. Like I said, y'all know my situation. I talk about all the time. No job will hire me. I believe that God closed those doors for a reason. And when I finally accepted it, is when it finally was just like took the monkey off my back, because you know, it was just like it's nothing I can do. The fourth one, which goes to the next point, toxic achievement culture and male mental health. So Harvard researchers note that millennial men are under pressure to achieve without ever having to reflect, reset, or heal. So we're going to pause the pressure that says you're not him, and that's okay. And it's time to start that journey. That reset is essential. It's for mental clarity. It's what's going to have you saying, okay, this ain't working. Like I said, my diet last year, I said, okay, this ain't working. I'm now 12 pounds down from what I was last year. Now, I didn't take a year to get there, but I'm just thinking about where I was last year to this year, because I really didn't start losing it, because I was still around 240 through that rest of that whole year. It really didn't hit until this year when I really started resetting and reflecting, changed the diets drastically, changed the workouts drastically, added some supplements. I started at the beginning of the year taking the OxyShred, the fat burner, also not sponsored by them, but hey, I'm gonna throw it out there. And I've seen results with that. So yeah, I love that for me. Love that for me. Now let's talk about being a man child. You can't be him and a man child. You can't be both. You can't be him and a man child, just like you can't be a Christian and an Aries. Just saying. You don't want to hear that, but I just went there. Don't care. Argue with your mother. Astrology is witchcraft. I don't care. Now, let's talk about being a man child. Now, there's a story of a person that I knew. Y'all know I'm quick to forget people. And this person, this person was cool. Real cool. Met him. Dude was real cool. I seen when we got cool, he didn't do anything to me, but a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And I watched how he did some of his friends. Like I watched how one of his friends called me one time and was like, yeah, so-and-so blocked me on everything, and I don't know what happened. I watched him get into it with this girl one time. He threatened to beat her up, threatened to, you lucky you had help, because if they wasn't there, I would have banged your head up against the sidewalk. This is a man saying this to a woman, and in a group message, where if she wanted to screenshot that and post that and you're a big content creator, she could have ruined you. Wasn't thinking, man child, right? Now, me and him didn't have no issues, but I'm the type, I'm like, at some point, you're going to have issue with me. So this person had a situation going on. I don't know if this was why, but basically I think he felt that I took a side, which I didn't, because I still was cool with this other person that he had issue with. I didn't notice he blocked me, but then he ended up unblocking me, and I saw his page. So originally I followed it because I thought, oh, he made a new page. Whole time I put two together. I'm like, oh, he had blocked me. So I had DM'd him. I said, hey, did you make a new page? And then he never responded. We was cool. He was liking pictures and stuff. And then I found out a few weeks ago he had unfollowed me again, so I unfollowed him back. Now, was I hurt by this? No. Was I kind of like annoyed in the moment? Yeah. But I wasn't hurt by why? Because I'd already seen what type of person he was. Now, is blocking and unfollowing, this keeps coming up. Is blocking and unfollowing childish or man-childish or sassy? It depends on the context. I will block you if you texting me talking crazy. One of my followers, shout out to her, love her to death. These days, we good. We great space now. She knows all about that. Don't block, text my phone talking crazy. I don't care what happened. I don't care if I ran you over with a car. Don't text me talking crazy. I'm clearly wrong, but I don't care. Don't text me and say it. Talk about it in person. But I ain't hit nobody with a car, but you get what I'm saying. But unfollowing. No, there have been times I unfollow people and I was kind of like, did probably being emotional in the moment, but it wasn't even in an argument. It was just like on some but then sometimes I don't feel bad about it either, because it's like, it'd be different if they was like actively engaged with my content. So it's kind of like I can blame it on that. But then that's kind of lying a little bit, because then you lying about omission. You're not telling the full story. But you know what I mean. Underrated life skill. I'm gonna ask you this, and I should have asked this in QT&A. Can people be wrong about you? Can people be wrong about you? Can somebody be able to say this is you and you be like, okay, or not even engaged? If you can't, you might be a man child. And that transitions to the next part. Still in the mental health segment. Top 5 signs you are a man child. Some of them was mentioned in the videos, but let's get into it here. The first one is avoiding responsibility. Says this comes from Psychology Today in an article titled Can you spot 10 signs of a childish adult? Men who routinely dodge basic adult responsibilities and often display emotional maturity. The second one I see a lot in some people. Same source, blaming everyone but yourself. When something goes wrong, a man child will point fingers before even looking in the mirror. The kind of chronic blame game is a way to dodge accountability and delay growth. Third one, we kind of already went over. Same source, emotional outbursts over small things. Tantrums are just for toddlers. Grown men who lash out, sulk, or shut down over minor conflicts reveal a lack of emotional regulation. Now, with that, I'm going to give a twofold discussion before I go to the last two, which actually, come from two different sources, the last two. There are instances where people will say that I was being emotionally immature because they're getting to talking and going and I just get quiet. It's not that I can't communicate, because I communicate very well. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. The issue is you. Now you're saying, Izzy, you're blaming people. Here's the thing. I can observe when someone is in an emotional tirade and they're just going berserk. They're angry and they've already made up their mind as to what I did or what just happened. So no, I'm not going to go back and forth with you because you made your mind up. You already, you made it up. So there's no point in me even explaining, because you made your mind up. And you have to know, one, when people to be wrong about you are wrong about you. And two, being okay with understanding that some people, when they made their mind about you, just is what it is. So I'm not even going to waste my time, because you're not going to hear me no way. You want to hear a certain thing. Fourth one, I actually don't see too much of, but we got to throw out there: over dependence on parents. So very well, mine says, is your husband a man child, still relying on mom and dad for money, direction, or decision making? That's a red flag. A mature man knows how to stand on his own even when uncomfortable. Now there's a difference when times is hard and you asking for some money, but just fully relying on them. The youngest millennial is 29. No. The fifth one is fear of commitment. I think this is a lot of people. It says Psychology Today, 5 signs you might be dating a man child. It says whether it's ghosting, avoiding labels, or not able to commit to a job. Fear of long-term decisions often stem from a man never maturing past adolescent patterns. And you aren't necessarily fear of commitment in every area. A lot of men are fear of commitment when it comes to marriage and a committed relationship. But some people say that about certain people, but then certain people, it's like you don't have a spouse or a relationship. So it's like, how can you be fear of commitment if there's no one there? Something to think about. All right, y'all. Now let's move to the final segment for today. We've been rolling on the roll, which is the weekly sabbatical. In this sabbatical here, we got to talk about a few things. Let's first go off with 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. And it says, this is the ESV, it says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. So with that, you don't just give up childish ways. Some things you lose organically. Like I remember, like here's an example of organic give up, and there's other things you got to stop. So like growing up, like I love playing Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I'm actually going back to my roots and watching a lot of videos and video games from childhood, right? But I loved it. Still know how to play. Could probably play very well. I'm not about to go buy no Yu-Gi-Oh cards, bro. But as I was growing up, I just kind of lost the desire. Happened organically. Now, let's do another one. Where will you give up childish ways? So say for instance, you even if you live alone, it's just certain things you don't do, right? Or certain things you outgrow. You could easily be in this house and just let it look a mess. Now, when it comes out, some people are OCD, and I don't have OCD with cleaning, but don't get it twisted. I have to say we got to clean up once a week, no excuses. And I ain't gonna lie, it was a point where I just kind of fell off and just did it maybe every 3 weeks or whenever I felt like it. But I'm mandatory, once a week you have to clean. There's no excuses. And ain't nobody here to tell me to do that. And I'm not the person who likes to clean. Some people they love to clean, and so that's easy for you to do because that's something you like to do. I really don't, but I know I have to, and it's just like a little crazy. Granted, don't nobody live and don't nobody be over like that. I've learned a while ago you need once a week is no excuse. So now, I have some tips. So if you are a man child and you want to be him, you want to be that guy, there are certain things you got to do because the physical look, the money, the purpose, a lot of that stuff is surface. Purpose, of course, is God-led and all that, but a lot of that stuff that we mentioned and we seen is surface. You really want to be that guy internally as well. Here's some steps. So this comes from an article called "Why Does Paul Say When I Was a Child Spoke Like a Child?" Right? So why does he say that? Why does he say that? So here's some steps. So let's analyze that. It says that he used the analogy of transitioning from childhood to adulthood to emphasize spiritual maturity. He encourages believers to move beyond petty disputes and embrace love as a foundation of their interactions. Then it goes to the second point. It says childish versus mature behaviors. It says the Corinthians' behavior marked by jealousy and strife are labeled as children by Paul. Now, remember, he sent that letter to the Corinthians and basically saying all the stuff that they were doing wrong and incorrect. He contrasts this with mature approach of prioritizing love and unity within the community. Like a person who is mature can often, you seek peace. Now, when we think peace, we think reconciliation. There are some people who you can be at peace with, but no, yeah, we'll never be cool like that again. And that's okay. But you have to know the difference. Then it gets into the application for personal growth. So it says that the passage serves as a metaphor for personal development, urge individuals to reflect on areas where they may be holding on to immature patterns and strive for growth and love and understanding. So that's something you need to see. That's something you need to analyze and see, like, am I tripping? Am I overreacting? Am I the problem? The video, is it me? Am I the drama? Like, yeah, it's you. But that's okay. You've been going around the same mountain. You've been wanting something more. You're tired of the same thing. I see y'all notes. I see y'all threads. I see y'all tweets. I don't see y'all tweets. I'm not on Twitter. Twitter's full of, X-rated content. And if you're trying to live right, you keep going on there. It's just not, it's not good. There's some people who go on there specifically for that. I'm like, you a freak a leak. People be telling you they freaks. They do. Sidebar. So I saw a video before we end off. It was, you could tell this generation has been perverted, and you can tell this generation was introduced to sex a little too early. I seen the video. It was an old video of an old Freddy Krueger video, Freddy Krueger movie. Don't know which one. And it was video where a girl was on the phone, and when Freddy would do the dream stuff in real life, it would start to manifest. So she was on the phone, and at the bottom of the phone, a tongue came out, and the girl was like this, and she backed up. And when I tell you, so many people was in those comments saying, them women was saying some outrageous and outlandish things. One of the comments, I will repeat, the other ones is too explicit, but the one comment she said was, I would have put that phone. No, she said, I would have had Freddie running from me. I wish I could show y'all them comments on. Let's say I laughed, but I was also disheartened. Is that the word I want to use? I was that when I saw so many people that I knew liked it. If you've been traveling around the same mountain, going in circles, and you want direction, not only will this series be for you, but from an article titled "Traveling Around the Same Mountain in Your Life Too Long with a Question Mark," here's some things that can kind of put you in the right direction. Because like I said, I don't want to reveal too much because really, in short, this whole series is going to kind of answer those different questions. But this is the precursor to all of that. It says, sometimes circumstances or events force us to look back and take an inventory of our lives, or to look forward to the near future to where we are headed in life. One of such situations is the end of the year. Think about that. Think about the end of the year. So far, first of all, we are now what, in April? Where are you with your goals? You had all these goals. Where they at? Where they at, though? Where they at? You know what I'm saying? So that's something I want you to ask yourself. And the Bible story does a great example of breaking that down. It then says in Deuteronomy 2 and 3, God told the Israelites, you've been traveling around this mountain country long enough, and as a result of their lack of faith and disobedience, they spent 40 years instead of a few weeks traveling from Egypt to the promised land. At one juncture, they journeyed round about the same mountain in the desert for such a long time that the Lord himself told them it's enough. Don't let God have to tell you it's been enough. Like what took a few weeks took 40 years. And sometimes disobedience is sneaky because we think, well, I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to get to that. Great example. I was watching Lauren LaRosa's interview last night, and anything she do, I think is great. But she made a comment about how her life is what it is now. And she said, I thought this would have been the retirement move, her being on the Breakfast Club and journalist. She thought that was going to be her retirement dream. She thought she was going to be a big actress first and then that. So sometimes we have to get out of what we think. And we think sometimes we're doing what God wants us to do, but we're actually in the way because we didn't curate what we think we're supposed to be doing right now and how it's supposed to be. And we're in error. And the biggest sign you're in error is if you're not seeing no movement. If you seeing it, because sometimes people say, well, I'm seeing a little bit of movement. Let me say this. It don't take, 6 months to lose 5 pounds. It don't take 6 months to lose 10 pounds. It really don't take 6 months to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to go back to weight loss because that's a good example. So if you say you went 6 months, you're like, well, I lost 3 pounds. You're not doing something right and you're going down the wrong way. You're not seeing the proper results. I always shout out to her, my girl Brianna, Bree Chains, right? She was going consistent on TikTok, doing what she was supposed to be doing, being herself versus trying all these other little things. She was herself, and her TikTok blew up and was still growing. That's an example for somebody. Obedience is marked by acceleration. Disobedience is marked by delay. Going back to the article, it says mountains in scriptures often symbolize challenges or problems. The Bible and our experiences teach us that it's possible to deal with the same problem issue for many years, possibly for an entire lifetime. For example, Jesus once met a man who had suffered from an infirmity for 38 years, and after meeting Jesus, he was healed. When it's time for something, it ain't gonna take stuff ain't gotta take long. We've been taught that lie that, like, I think about forgiveness when it was like time heals all. No, it don't. It's been stuff I had been mad about 20 years later. And not for me, not for a lot of people, really. It's some people who just be forgetting stuff. I ain't one of them. Question challenge for the week. What steps are you taking to become Himothy? Now, just get a quick synopsis. Are you a man child? One of the signs of man being a man child is blame game, all that stuff, but also going around the same mountain, going around in circles. Do you have what it takes to be him? We all do. But you have to take into account what you're doing and then also what you're not doing. What are you doing too much of? It's a format here. It was a lot to unpack, but don't fear because it's a lot here. You can always rewind and go back. But also, too, we got a whole series. And every episode will feature somebody. So I went to find the people, and hopefully this series will help you and put you in the right steps to say, you know what, dang, like, let me see what's up. Let me catch a vibe. Let me see what's up. All right, y'all. So I ain't hold y'all. Well, I hold y'all. Yeah, whatever. It's okay. You love it here. Hey, y'all. We had a great episode today. I'm thankful. I'm happy to be back for season 9. Bunch of episodes, bunch of great conversations, and I can't wait for you to see it all. So as always, PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And as always remember, I love us for real.